Hey, good morning. I'm Patricia Murphy. It's Monday. This is Seattle Now. Arts organizations in Seattle rely on international artists to show their work in the U.S., but it's becoming increasingly difficult for artists to get the required permissions to enter the country. In a minute, arts reporter Marcie Sillman will tell us what it means for arts organizations and artists here in Seattle. But first, let's get you caught up. An update on a story we told you about last month. The Washington Talking Book and Braille Library will be closed to the public starting tomorrow due to a lack of state funding. The library provides key services to people who can't read standard print. Beginning Tuesday, the Seattle Library building will be open by appointment only. You'll still be able to check out materials by phone or online, but those services will be slowed. The Seattle City Council's Transportation Committee will meet tomorrow to take a step towards expanding the light rail to West Seattle. The committee may vote to approve the alignment, station locations, and maintenance base location of the extension before passing it on to the full council. The extension includes 4 new stops between SoDo and West Seattle's Alaska Junction neighborhood. Hold your horses, though. We are still a ways away from riding. Sound Transit says the start of service is scheduled for 2032. And if you think you've got what it takes to become a member of the Seattle City Council, applications for the council's vacant seat open on Wednesday. District 5's Kathy Moore resigned earlier this month, leaving her North Seattle seat open. Interested parties have until July 9th to apply. The council will meet 3 times to discuss candidates, including an open public forum July 21st before making the pick at the end of next month. Check back for more headlines on tonight's episode of Seattle Now. Seattle's art scene is filled with great local talent, but it also features plenty of international artists. Recent examples include the Seattle International Film Festival and the Seattle International Dance Festival. Getting a visa to come to America as an artist has never been easy, and the Trump administration has only added to that difficulty. Freelance arts reporter Marcie Sillman is here to tell us where this new difficulty is showing up in our art scene. She's written about it for Cascade PBS. Marcie, great to talk to you. Thanks for being here.
Nice to see you, Patricia Murphy.
Well, we said it at the top there. We have great local and national talent. How important are international performing artists locally, and where are they showing up?
They're part of the foundation of the arts community that's been building here for at least 50 years. We've always brought in outside talent, and it gives us a chance to see what's happening beyond our upper left-hand corner of the country. But they are mostly, we're seeing international artists show up at places like Meany Hall on the University of Washington campus. They feel a responsibility to bring global culture to we in the Outback. And they're also showing up Seattle Symphony, which seems to have been hit worst by the visa application process for artists, more than any other entity, probably because it's gotten more and more expensive and more restrictive.
Let's talk about an example of someone who's gotten their visa rejected. What does it mean for the arts locally that this is happening?
Just this very week, 2 Australian violinists called 2 Violins, simple enough, had their visa not rejected but delayed. And that meant that the symphony had to cancel a scheduled performance in early July that featured these violinists playing with the entire symphony. Now, they hopefully will get their visa approved, but they won't be back with the full symphony. They'll be back just the 2 of them sometime in the fall because it's hard to coordinate schedules.
I can't imagine what that's like for people at the symphony, inside or arts organizations trying to plan seasons around international artists as well.
The nicest thing I heard said about it was that it was mysterious. And the word I hear the most is uncertain. It's very hard, especially for organizations that are smaller, like On the Boards, which made a reputation bringing contemporary sort of cutting edge art from mostly Western Europe 20, 30 years ago, to make a commitment to somebody who might not get their visa approved. So you are investing thousands of dollars. And you may have the whole program printed up, have the space reserved, and then find out that that artist or arts troupe can't come.
It's never been easy to get a performance art visa, so tell us about how the process worked before President Trump took office.
Well, the current process is a moving target, according to many people I spoke with. But about 20 or so years ago, after 9/11, people were very worried about anybody coming to this country. So what they tried to do was add some clarity to the process. What they did was set up a system where the arts organization who is going to bring you has to fill out a form that essentially proves the point that the artist is artistic enough to merit entry into the United States. Once they have that piece of paper in hand, and they've done this for the 20-some years, they've had to then apply for a visa. And when they have those two papers in hand, then they could be assured entry, for the most part, into the United States. At any one of these points now, there is no certainty.
You know, it makes you wonder on some levels what the appeal is for international artists to come and perform here in the U.S. if this is so utterly challenging.
Well, according to Cyrus Kambata, who for 20 years, it's his 20th anniversary of the Seattle International Dance Festival, has tried to bring in emerging or less known arts groups from around the world, Korea, Eastern Europe, countries that don't normally have the money for people to come. They have exposure. It's a feather in their cap, and they try to piggyback onto one appearance, perhaps a small tour or maybe even a national tour, and that exposes them to audiences that might not know who they are and exposes us as audiences to art that we might never know about or see or commentary about in other countries' politics.
What's changed, Marcie, in the last 6 months? I read in your piece that some artists have actually canceled their trips to the United States.
Yes, they have. And that's usually based on both the uncertainty of the application process, the length that has been added, and the expense. You recall that a lot of budget cutting was happening right when the Trump administration took office. The Doge, young, mostly men, cut at least 10% of overseas staff, but they also cut things like embassy consulates in countries. And that's really critical because once you have the little paper ascertaining that you're a great artist and you should come to the United States, you have to actually get the visa at the embassy or consulate. You have to travel to one. And if you live in a country that doesn't have an office because it's been closed or doesn't have the processing staff, you might just say, oh, what the heck, I don't. And even if you're famous, you don't want to pay the lawyer fees to have this all expedited. You just don't want to deal with it. Or you maybe object philosophically to the politics. And that happened with somebody from Seattle Symphony. The conductor and pianist, Sir Andras Schiff, canceled his American tour this year on his own volition because he just didn't want to, as he says, shut up and play. He wanted to make a stand. He's from Hungary. His parents were from Hungary under the Nazis, and he was making a stand.
There's so much going on here, Marcie. This exposure in the U.S. is so important for international artists. It's important for people here to be able to plan. But the political turmoil in the United States is really impacting their ability not only to make art, but get here to perform it. Where is this difficulty showing up most here in Seattle?
It seems to be showing up, as we've seen publicly, at the symphony. But the head of the performance segment at Seattle Theater Group has already had 2 musical artists cancel tours proactively. And they don't always say, hey, we're canceling this act. They may just hear about it before it becomes publicized. But at the symphony, they are announcing the cancellations because people might buy subscription series or tickets way in advance. And these are things that they don't get reimbursed for at the symphony when the artist cancels. So it's hard. So those are big. The smaller venues, it sort of stops you scheduling. And on the boards, they decided themselves this coming season not to even extend an offer to bring any international artist here. It's expensive, it's uncertain, and they would prefer to invest their money in local or national artists.
Yeah, that was going to be my follow-up. What are they doing instead to cope with this current situation?
A lot of it is investing money in local community, and that's a fabulous thing for local artists. Over at Meany Hall, Michelle Witt, who runs that organization, it's a goal of the university to program at least 1/3 of Meany Hall with international touring artists. And I think she will attempt to do that. But given that it's combined with cuts to at the university higher level than the arts, she's kind of hamstrung as well.
What do art consumers in Seattle lose when international artists cannot or choose not to share their art here?
It's such an interesting question because it's not something you can measure with a data point. You don't know how something affects somebody. But I do know that we've been so lucky here, especially in the contemporary arts world, to be exposed to artists who are breaking ground, who are thinking about things differently, and who are really influencing their art forms with the work that they do. And one I can think of off the bat is the Canadian choreographer Crystal Pite, I think she's a genius. I've said it in print. She's just amazing. And she's got a new piece that has toured Western Europe and has toured Canada. And according to her company's website, which is Kid Pivot, they have no plans right now to come to the United States. And I think that's sad for all of us who have really come to follow along, because she's been touring here for at least 15 years, to follow along with the evolution of her art, the way she brings dance, movement, and theater together into a piece that's pretty groundbreaking.
If the U.S. is making it so hard, Marcie, for international artists to get here, what kind of message is that sending to international artists from the U.S.?
The most evident thing that we've seen is other countries raise the cost for American artists to enter those countries on tour. And Cyrus Kambata of Seattle International Dance Festival told me that he's personally seen like 3 or 4 countries just say, you're going to charge us that much? Well, we'll charge you that much. And I think that has an effect of just choking both countries. Neither one gets, the artists don't get to tour to either place. And so there's less exposure. They lose the money they might have earned in those trips. And we end up resenting each other, I think. And I think open communication is always a good thing, not a bad thing.
That's the now we're talking about, Marcie. What about the future? What do you predict we will see or not see in Seattle's international arts scene if things don't change?
The Trump administration has threatened or promised to levy a special tariff on foreign films. This is a town of film goers, and the Seattle International Film Festival has shaped what we've consumed, and I don't know what that means for the future. And it's either a homogenized kind of art product, nothing that's going to break new ground or be risky or threatening, or people are just going to avoid coming to the United States because why bother? Why hassle? Why worry? Why water down what you want to make? The best case scenario is that artists will do what artists always do, which is make the work that they make and somehow try to have it seen. We are lucky in one way at the moment, which is that we can stream products, which we didn't used to be able to do. Maybe that will be how we consume product if we still have access. Who knows?
Wow. Marcie Sillman, I appreciate being in the presence of art. So I'm going to hope that things come around, Really appreciate your deep knowledge and insight. We're so fortunate to have freelance arts reporter Marcie Sillman read her story at Cascade PBS. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Seattle Now. Today's episode was produced by Brooklyn Jamerson Flowers. It was edited by Andy Hurst. Our production team also includes Caroline Chamberlain Gomez, Vaughn Jones, and Paige Browning. Greg Kramer does our theme music. Seattle Now and KUOW Public Radio are members of the NPR network. I'm Patricia Murphy. See you soon.